Hello, my name is Sage Contreras, and I'll be talking about the functions of nonverbal communication and how it serves in relationships as well as influencing ourselves and others, and how it has to do with verbal communication as well. And lastly, how we use nonverbal communication to kind of hide our true feelings or intentions. Um, First off, when we're creating a relationship or we just met someone, a lot of times we're not going to go out and immediately say, like, hey, I like you. Do you have any interest in me? We have to use nonverbal cues like eye contact, gesture, and tone to all provide us insight of whether you should go forward with that relationship or not. Um, Next, I'd like to talk about how nonverbal communication can play a role in regulating verbal communication. So, for example, say someone's talking and they're talking and they're talking, and then there's a point where there's a pause or for a moment for the listener to provide their insight. So a lot of times we'll do this with eye contact. We'll change our tone, or maybe at the end of our point we'll say and I'll see this a lot of times with my grandparents. They'll make a long point or whatever they're talking about, and they'll say and that's kind of my cue as a listener to kind of provide my insight or whatever I have to say. I feel like also nonverbal communication also plays a role in how others perceive us. And so that could mean how we look, how we act, how we're dressed, or where we're from can all kind of provide credibility to that person. So, a perfect example of this in a job interview where we're basically trying to get that other person to like us in some way. Um, so that's kind of by coming to the interview early, on time, how we dress, if we're clean and cut, um, if we have good tone, good personality, we're more than likely to get that job opposed to the person who doesn't do those things. Next is how your body language can influence ourselves and our emotions. So, example, if you're smiling a lot and you're kind of outgoing kind of person, you're more than likely to be happy than the person who's kind of kind of carries himself more slouched over or whatever. So there are some studies that show that if you stand in a power stance or power position when you're feeling in times that maybe you're inconfident for about 1 to 2 minutes, that it boosts testosterone, therefore boosting your overall confidence and self-esteem, mood, as well as your memory. And I noticed this in my life that when I kind of go about things and I'm walking around big crowds or something like that, and I walk upright and straight, I feel more confident, and I feel like I can go about going about communicating with other people with more confidence. Um, Lastly, there are times when we use body language to kind of conceal our true feelings. So, a good example of this is, you know, maybe someone may be happy, they may appear to be happy about going to a place with you, but on the inside, they feel the exact opposite. Um, and often we aren't as good as detecting these false body languages as well as we think we are. Um, Typically, we see in liars that they'll do things like avoid eye contact, they'll be really fidgeting, they'll kind of stutter, they'll take long pauses when they're talking. These are all kind of like what we call micro expressions, which are kind of indicators of someone who's lying. But sometimes the truth is, good liars don't do these things, and in any way, they're kind of prepared to lie, I guess you could say. But um, I think that we should take these expressions as kind of with a grain of salt and not just automatically assume that everyone's a liar. We should kind of take in the information and properly register it. And last, I'd like to talk about a good way to start managing impressions is through basically proper manner, appearance, and settings. So how we I think this is basically how we carry ourselves will provide better impressions on other people. So like being, having good manners, having a good positive attitude, having a really good appearance, your setting, who you hang around with, or your, you know, maybe the place you live or your background. Those are all kind of good ways to um, provide other people like, oh, this guy's he's a really credible guy. He's someone I can rely on. So yeah, lastly, I chose a video having to do with body language, and it's a video of Matthew McConaughey. He's pounding on his chest, and he's doing this hum. He's going, and basically, he does this hum actually in real life. He's doing it in the movie here in the clip, but he does this to give himself more confidence, almost boost himself up, to kind of clear his mind and go about whatever he's doing. So that's why I chose this clip, and thank you for your time, and thank you for listening.